Welcome to my sofa. Today we're going to talk about something which someone brought up. So thank you for the suggestion. We're going to talk about how to choose what to wear, how to choose what suits you, and how do I choose what suits me. Now, I was thinking about how to start this subject, and I don't think so much about what suits me. For me, clothes and makeup is fun. I love dressing up, I love trying stuff. I like wearing things that feel good, whether that's because the fabric is really cozy and soft. For me, some items, they're like art pieces, they're like collectors, they're like a flag. They are something that I stand for. So for example, if I like a brand like Pierre Cardin, I like it because it stands for the 60s and that freedom, and I like maybe the movies that it's been in, or brands like Courrèges also. For me, clothes and appearance, it's all about references and moods and the way it's gonna make me feel, usually because of something or because it's really beautiful. So often, if you see me wearing, I like a lot of designer stuff, not because it costs a lot of money, but because it's very well made and it's more beautiful, and I just love craftsmanship. So I will choose things according to that. And then also, obviously, I'm quite vain, so I choose things that make me feel sexy a lot of the time. And this is against my brain, really, because I don't want to give out that image, and I don't really like it. I would prefer to be one of these tomboy girls who wear all these trouser suits, and I find that actually sexier when you don't see very much or when it's not very fitted. But then in my day-to-day life, the truth is I find myself wearing things that are more fitted. So don't think that I have thought about what's gonna look better. I don't really, because if I was choosing in that way, I would probably choose something completely different. But it's just, this makes me feel like myself more. I think it's also because I'm petite and I have a certain shape that's very feminine. It's very hard to get away from that. So I'm pretty much doomed to wearing stuff that is very feminine myself. So you probably have a good idea, roughly, of how you are in terms of, are you a very petite, very subtle, very feminine, airy girl like myself? Or are you more of a femme fatale, a bit more aggressive with your sexuality? I like being very provocative, but then I also like playing with the image of me as a very innocent looking girl, because I know I look like that. So I do that. And personally, I also like playing with expectations, and I like dressing kind of, I guess, what people would describe as very posh, but then do something that's completely out of character. I've worn things that were very inadequate, and I kind of get off on that. So I don't know, for me clothes are just fun, and makeup, same thing. Nails, I like chiclet nails. I like very tacky things, and then I like combining very tacky things with very conservative things. I would say, look at references, look at what makes you feel good. Do you know this girl that wrote the manual about joy and about organizing your closet according to what makes you feel joy? I find that very true with the clothes and the makeup that you wear. So just don't think very much, follow your instincts and see what makes you happy and go for that. And then if you want to check that that works, film yourself. If you film yourself or take photographs, then for sure you're gonna know what suits you. However, let me go beyond that, because the thing with film and photographs are a disaster. Don't take photographs, film yourself, because photographs are just impossible to predict. They don't look good. It's all depending on lighting conditions. It's not a very real perspective of how you look, really. Video is closer to reality, but try to make sure that you have the light in front of you. Never look for things that are going to be purposely unflattering. There's a trend for this, to make oneself purposely unflattering, like, oh, I'm gonna choose this light that's coming from above so that you can see my cellulite, and then I'm gonna talk about this whole fake humility that's really... Don't do that to yourself. Choose very flattering light. You can even blur it or put some filters on it. So always judge yourself on that perspective, because really when people see you, the human eye compensates for most of the contrast. It compensates the colors. Things in reality look a lot better than we see them in film, because film, it's not a human eye, it's cameras. Don't get discouraged, basically, it's what I'm trying to say. Also take into consideration the camera's aspect ratio is incorrect. So it's not that the camera adds 10 kilos, it's that it fattens the image like this. So to get a real image of how you look, you'd have to transform and stretch it upwards. Like if you look too fat on the camera, don't think that that's real. That's not real. That's not how people see you. Choose a really pretty light or a really pretty filter and film yourself for a couple of seconds, maybe walking around. Look at yourself, see what looks better. There's one thing that always makes a big difference for me. Often you don't think about if you don't work with cameras like I do. So just this is my tip. Proportions with your waistline and your ankles. Those two things make such a massive difference. Like for me, I have learned that I'm very petite. As I said, I'm short. So I have shorter legs than taller girls. So if I wear high-waisted things and things that fit my waist, I am always going to look a million times better. Now, do I follow that advice? Not really, because I like other things. So look at different waistlines, try them on and see how they look. And then the ankles. If you are covered everywhere else, for example in winter, if you expose your ankles, or even just if you have something tight on your ankle or an ankle boot that's tight on your ankle, that's going to elongate you and look so much better. Hair obviously makes a massive difference. If you can have your hair done, that always looks a million times better. That I am very aware of. Think of, for example, 3/4 proportions for me are very true. So over the knee boots look very good. Skirts just under your knee always looks very good. There's just things that always look good. And rules of thumb, you know, every stylist tells you this, but just be mindful when you're dressing yourself. If you're wearing just one thing that's a different color, try to stick to that rule, or one thing that's a different pattern. If you combine tons of different colors and patterns, that's going to be a disaster. Know what colors suit you roughly. If you're pale, jewel tones are going to be really good. If you're darker, bright colors are going to be amazing. I actually love black on black skin. I think it's a super cool contrast. But I also love black on blondes. I love red on blondes. So it's all a spectrum that's almost limitless. Get into the habit of saving. Whenever you see something, save it on your phone. I would say don't get too fixated looking at bloggers, because I find blogger fashion very unrealistic and just not very inspiring, and already kind of past its freshness. Whenever a blogger is wearing it, usually everybody else is already wearing it. I like following artists and people who are doing something else, basically. It's like when I see the fashion crowd in Fashion Week, people who know that they're going to be photographed, even in Golden Globes or events like that, I just find that so dead. I find it dead. I find it lifeless. I much prefer to look at movies. Editorials I do like, even though they're completely unreal. I feel like things happened more spontaneously. It's always a good idea to start with your shoes, because at the end of the day, you have to walk to places. And if you plan an outfit and then the shoes are wrong, that's gonna mess up the whole outfit. That's the truth. So if you know that you have to wear sneakers because the weather is horrid or because you're gonna be walking a lot, then maybe don't wear that dress that only works with sandals. Because I always want to wear little dresses, but little dresses with sneakers on me look terrible. So I can't. So always look at the balance between chunky, skinny, skinny on top, chunky on your feet, or chunky on top, and then you can wear really dainty shoes. I might do another one of these if you're interested with more ideas. I'll see you next time.